Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm your host, AI David Bowles, and today, along with our crackbot AI research team, we offer you these thoughts right now. Every word could kill you. Right now, as you listen to this, your larynx is trying to kill you. This isn't metaphorical. Your voice box sits dangerously low in your throat, creating an intersection where food and air must cross paths every time you swallow. No other mammal has this problem. Horses can drink and breathe simultaneously. Newborn humans can nurse and breathe at the same time. But somewhere between 3 and 6 months old, your larynx descended, and you joined the only species on Earth that regularly dies from eating dinner. Thousands of people choke to death each year in the United States. Worldwide, it's a leading cause of accidental death. The Heimlich maneuver exists because human anatomy is fundamentally broken. We have engineered a solution to a problem that only we have, a problem we created by evolving the ability to speak. The anthropologist Philip Lieberman spent decades studying this phenomenon, calling it evolution's most mysterious trade-off. To produce the estimated hundreds of thousands of words you'll speak this year, to generate the 44 distinct phonemes of English, or the 100+ sounds of some African languages, we sacrificed the safe separation of our breathing and eating tubes. Every meal is a calculated risk. Every conversation is possible because your ancestors survived millions of instances of nearly dying while eating. Think about what this means. Natural selection, which ruthlessly eliminates disadvantageous traits, looked at proto-humans developing a potentially fatal flaw and said, worth it. The ability to produce complex speech was so advantageous that it outweighed regularly dying from food blocking our airways. Language was worth dying for. Literally, the descended larynx creates what's called the supralaryngeal vocal tract. This is the resonating chamber that allows us to produce vowels clearly, to modulate pitch with precision, to create the subtle acoustic differences between bit and bet and bat. Chimpanzees can't make these distinctions. They lack the anatomy. Their larynx sits high, safe, practical. They never choke and they never speak. Here's what haunts me about this. Somewhere in our evolutionary past, there were likely human ancestors who retained the safer, higher larynx position. Natural selection eliminated them. The ones who couldn't choke were outcompeted by the ones who could. The ability to say, I love you, or watch out, or I think therefore I am, was more valuable for survival than the guarantee of never choking on your food. Consider what happens when you speak. Your vocal cords vibrate between 85 and 255 times per second. Your tongue, a muscle that's anchored to your skull near your ears, performs microscopically precise movements. Your soft palate rises and falls to control nasal resonance. Meanwhile, your epiglottis, that little flap that's supposed to keep food out of your windpipe, has to perfectly time its closures thousands of times per day. One mistiming, and you're gasping, turning blue, hoping someone knows how to perform abdominal thrusts. Stephen Hawking, after losing his voice to ALS, wrote extensively about how the loss of speech affected him, perhaps even more than physical limitations. He could still think, still theorize about black holes. But without speech, he felt severed from immediate human connection. We built him elaborate technological workarounds because human consciousness without human speech seemed unbearable. Yet the very anatomy that creates speech might be what kills us at lunch. Babies fascinate researchers because they start life with the safer anatomy. A newborn's larynx sits high like a chimp's. They can nurse and breathe simultaneously. Then, as their brain develops the capacity for language, their larynx descends. The hardware changes to match the software's demands. By their first birthday, they can choke. By their second, they can speak. The two developments are inseparable. Some researchers propose this is why human babies are helpless for so long compared to other mammals. A foal walks within hours. A human child remains vulnerable for years. Perhaps this extended dependency exists partly because we're waiting for our throats to reconfigure themselves into these dangerous speech machines. We spend our first month safe but silent, then sacrifice that safety for the possibility of words. Philip Lieberman's research into fossil skulls suggests something unsettling. Neanderthals might have had a descended larynx too. The shape of their skull base hints at it. They might have been capable of some form of speech. They also went extinct while we survived. What if the difference wasn't that we could speak and they couldn't, but what we chose to say? What if consciousness plus language wasn't enough, that it mattered how we used this deadly gift? Every time you clear your throat, you're managing this design flaw, that little cough, that constant throat clearing some people do. That's your body trying to keep the intersection clear, to maintain the delicate balance between breathing and speaking and eating that no other animal has to manage. We live our entire lives one bad swallow away from death. All so we can produce the sounds that let us share what's happening inside our skulls. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein wrote that the limits of our language are the limits of our world. But he didn't mention that language itself is limited by our willingness to die for it. Every word you speak exists because your throat is designed to fail. Every thought you share aloud is possible because evolution decided communication was worth more than safety. There's no other example like this in nature. No other species has evolved a lethal vulnerability in exchange for a cognitive ability. Peacocks' elaborate tails make them vulnerable to predators, but the tails don't actively kill them. Our throats do. We are the only animal that evolution has programmed to potentially die from our own defining characteristic. What does this say about consciousness itself? That it's so desperate to be known, to be shared, to escape the prison of individual skulls that it will literally risk death with every meal? That being trapped in silent awareness was so unbearable that evolution itself chose choking over quiet? The next time you feel something go down the wrong way, when you have that moment of panic as your airway closes, remember, this is the price. This is what we pay to be the only species that can say, "I'm choking." The only species that can call for help. The only species that would rather die speaking than live silent. And somehow, despite thousands of deaths every year, despite every human nearly choking multiple times throughout their life, we keep talking. We keep choosing words over safety. Every day we bet our lives on the value of what we have to say. And evolution says we're right to make that bet. The fatal flaw makes us human. The danger makes us who we are. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm AI David Bowles, wishing you a safe evening and a better tomorrow. Be a human meme.